Welcome back to the show, The Unbroken. I'm your host, Sam Davis. The Unbroken podcast is powered by InterventionOnCall.com. It is your go-to source for resources around dealing with an addicted loved one. Whether you need guidance, strategy, or plan, it all begins with education. And that is our goal, is to educate, so you, the public, can make an informed decision on the correct path to get your loved one the help that they need, and to get you the help that you need. Typically, I have a guest in, and today I'm riding solo, and it's completely my fault. I've been so busy with interventions and families that I haven't been able to line up a guest for today. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to explain to you all and help you all with determining whether you can do an intervention on your own without having to spend thousands of dollars to get a professional out to do it for you. So I'm going to educate you all today on how I coach families through the intervention process. All right, so let's get busy. You've got a loved one that's struggling with alcoholism or addiction. Matters not if it's your son, your daughter, your grandma, your husband, your wife, cousin, matters not. These principles remain the same overall. Now, this is just a guide. I do not suggest that you take exactly what I'm telling you and put it right into practice right now for your family. This is to guide you. This is to give you an overall sense of, hey, this is our family situation. Does what he's saying make sense? Can we apply this in our life? And I would strongly encourage you to seek some professional help, to get some coaching, get some guidance, and you can do that at Intervention on Call. But let's say you've got an addicted loved one in your life right now, and you've been struggling with that individual for quite some time. And it seems that nothing that the family has done has been effective. What you all are in is a crisis situation, and doing nothing is not an option. So you're faced with, what do we do? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is you need to build a team. What's probably been happening in your family unit is that not everyone in the family is evenly aligned in what the solution should be, right? Everyone in your family is coming to the table with a little bit of different idea of what the problem is and what the solution should be. Now, they can all probably agree that the loved one needs to get some help, that things need to change, and that is common ground that you can build on, right? If you're the one that's gathering information and putting this thing into action, then you want to go to the easiest team members first that you can get on your page. So you go to the one that's most likely to agree that, hey, we need to take some action and are willing to do that. And then you want to take that individual and you want to go to your next team member and say, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're going to get some information and some education, and we're going to approach our loved one and offer them some help. So you want to build a team because all of you need to be on the same page with the same understanding of what exactly the problem is and what the solution should be moving forward. When you can gather others in your life and in your circle on board for that, change can happen and you're well on your way. So this is where you're going to want to engage some outside professionals to help guide you along, and really just to educate everyone at the same time on, again, what the problem is and what the solution should be. Okay? Once you have everyone educated, that is the main crucial part. Everyone get educated, because from there, what's going to be required of you and the action that's going to be necessary for you to take to initiate some change in your family is going to make a lot more sense. The boundaries that you're going to want to put in place is going to become more clear, and then you're going to understand a lot better why you're being asked to do what you're being asked to do. So education. Cannot stress that enough. And what you can do is you can go to Intervention on Call and book a session with an interventionist, such as myself. I have other providers on there as well. And I want to be crystal clear here. We are not there to sell you an intervention. We are there to educate you so you can make an informed decision on your own about your best course moving forward. But in any event, this is where you want to bring in an outside source to help educate the family and help you with a plan. All right, so once you get educated and you have your team educated and you are all teed up and ready for some action, now you got to find a solution. Right now, you're probably at a place where you don't have a solution picked out. and you've been approaching your loved one saying, hey, you need to get some help, or do you want to get some help, or hey, let's go to rehab, or if you ever want to go to rehab. But what you're doing, if you don't have a solution picked out, you're leaving it so much up in the air that your addicted loved one has left their imagination about what that rehab is going to look like, and it's more than likely showing them worst case scenario. And even you yourself don't have a solution picked that's just kind of in the air. So in the event, in a likely event that something's going to happen where your loved one waves his hand or her hand and says, hey, I'm ready to get some help, I need to go to treatment, then you're scrambling looking for a solution. So first, education, which is going to help you pick the proper program and what's going to be best for your loved one. Not what you think they'll agree to, but what you actually feel is going to be the best for your loved one. If you're a family out here, you're kind of wandering around on a roadmap with no destination. And that's basically what you're going to be doing, is just wandering around if you don't have a solution in place. So talk to several different programs. Find out yourself what they're about. Do they offer family support? Do they offer family program? How long is their stay? Do they have aftercare? What is their belief around what addiction is? And I want to caution you is when you're looking at these programs, and I'll mention this again, you want to resist the urge to start playing mental chess in your head while you're talking to these programs about what you think your addicted loved one will accept and what they won't. Because if you're not careful, you're going to start negotiating with the illness of alcoholism and addiction in your head before you even present it to your loved one, and you will lose that negotiation. What'll happen is you're going to say, well, maybe he'll agree to this, or maybe she'll agree to that, and then they're going to end up in an inappropriate level of care, and this just kicks that can down the road for that much longer. So find the solution. You got the education, find the solution. Once you have a solution in place that you feel like is going to be the best place for your loved one, then it's about, okay, I've got this team here. How do we get from point A to point B? Once you have your solution in place, if this is your husband, if this is your son or daughter, no matter who it is, now's the time where you want to start incorporating some language into your day-to-day life with your loved one before the intervention happens that shows them that things are changing. One simple approach to do that is to engage in some family support, whether it be Al-Anon, whether it be virtual, whether it be in person. We have a family support group every Monday night and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. We've been doing that for quite some time. It's very successful. There's other support groups out there. And what I would encourage you to do is to let your loved one know, say, hey, Monday, 8 p.m., I'm going to need some privacy. I'm going to disengage from the family for an hour because I'm getting some support for myself to how best help you and maintain my own sanity around what's going on in our family system right now. So that's what I'm doing. And if they throw up any debate or try to pull you into a debate, just say, no, listen, I acknowledge what you're saying, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to ask for your respect and to give me the privacy that I need through this session. What message that sends to your addicted loved one is that things are changing. They're starting to take some action. They're going to start to get some education. And my days as being an addicted individual are numbered. It sends a strong message without being confrontational, and it's setting a boundary that you are beginning to take some self-care. And it's setting, an example of, hey, I'm taking some action for myself to get well and to better help you. Really puts their addiction on alert pretty much. All right, so, and you get to control the conversation that you have with your loved one at all times. If they ask you a question that you're not ready to engage in or try to manipulate you when you maybe you're kind of off your game a little bit, it is completely appropriate to say, I'm not in a position where I can give you an answer right now. Let me think on that and I will get back to you. That takes you out of the feeling like you've got to either say yes or no right now, right? And that allows you to back away, step away, ask them to respect that boundary. It allows you to step away, fortify your position, strengthen yourself a little bit emotionally so you will be able to give the proper response when necessary. Also, by this point, remember, you've got your team around you. You're not in this thing alone. And your team has been educated as well. Remember, you're all on the same page now. So you get to go to your team and say, hey, loved one A, B, C, or D is asking for this, that, and the other. I'm floundering and I'm in fear and I want to make the right decision. What is your feedback? And get feedback from the rest of the team and then be able to make a decision. You can go to your loved one and state your case, state your boundary, state your response, and move along. So you're starting to drop these little hints that change is coming. If they're intoxicated, you can set a boundary and say, you know what, I'm just not open to having a discussion. I will not talk to you while you're intoxicated. I love you, but it just doesn't get anywhere and it's not productive. All right. So there's little things like that before you actually do the intervention, before intervention day, that can be very helpful in letting an individual know when you all do make the approach to them that you're very serious and that this change is real. And this is not an empty threat, that this is not an ultimatum. Like, this is where the family is moving forward from here on out. So you've got this team. Everyone has some emotional attachment to your addicted loved one, and there lies a problem. Because the value of having an interventionist come in and do it for you is that there's no emotional attachment to the family situation at all. It's also something that the professional does on a daily basis. So, they're used to whatever the addicted individual is going to say, or they can see some details that you guys can't see just from lack of experience and being emotionally attached. So your biggest problem is the emotional attachment. So you want to pick a member of your team. And they could be family members, they could be distant family, they could be an employer, they could be, just old friends or what have you. But you want someone on your team that has the least emotional attachment to the situation, and you want them to be the leader. Because they're gonna be the anchor. And again, that's the value of having a professional come in and do it. So it's really, I believe, the most critical thing to address is who's going to lead this intervention, because they have an important role. It's someone that cannot be manipulated by your addicted loved one, someone whom they respect, just someone they're more likely to listen to, okay? So once you have your leader, members of the team are going to want to create letters, intervention letters. And these letters we ask them to put them on paper because it's such an emotionally driven event. You just don't want to wing it. You just don't want to just blurt out there what you're trying to accomplish, because you're going to come out all sideways. You're going to get distracted. You're going to go down a rabbit hole and you're going to lose them in the story. Or you're going to provoke anger. You're going to come out sideways. You're going to say something out of shame and guilt that'll blow the whole thing up. So we have families put things on paper, and they're called intervention letters. These letters should be read in about 2 to 3 minutes max. You want to be open, honest, and direct without blaming and without shaming. We have formats that we give our clients. And the formats go something along these lines of, hey, we're here today because we love you. And it's because of that love that we have for you that we're willing to sit here and have this difficult conversation. And what we see is that your addiction has affected you in the following ways. And you list them: open, honest, and direct, without shaming, without blaming. And also, what you may not be aware of, but we want to let you know, is that your addiction has affected us in the following ways and has affected me in the following ways. Then you list them: open, honest, and direct. Then you ask them to accept the help that they're offering, or that you're offering them today. You ask them to accept it. You let them know what it's going to look like. You let them know that you're doing this and you're offering them this gift because you love them so much and they're wonderful people and they deserve this gift. But you let it be known that it is a gift. It is not a have to, or, oh God, I've got to go. It's, man, you get to go. And that's how you want to present it. And you want to present it that you're doing that because you love them so much, and you'll do anything to see them get well, but you'll do nothing to enable them to stay the same or get worse. So you're offering them that gift. You're asking them to accept that gift, and you're going to let it be known that you're not here to make them do anything, that it is completely up to them and what their choice is to be, but you're also going to let them know what you will no longer do. And you're not turning your back on them. You're protecting yourself. You're not robbing that individual of an experience that they may need to have to create the desperation within themselves to want to do something about this emotional pain and mental anguish that is driving them in the grave. A lot of families at this point will say, well, how are we going to do this if they don't want it? You can't help someone that doesn't want it. And I can assure you, yes, there are a few out here that just love doing what they're doing and don't ever have any plans of changing what they're and how they're living their life in. But for the majority of people out here struggling with addiction, they wake up every day not wanting to be who they are. They go to bed every night wanting to be somebody different than who they are. And they have no idea how to pull it off. None. I promise you that the one is there. It's the willingness that they lack. And the reason that they lack the willingness is because they perceive that they have all these options. Because the experience with the team prior to the team getting educated and taking some action on their own was that the team was basically doing everything for them. So there's always a janitor, there's always a banker in a family system when you're dealing with an addicted loved one. And we're removing that. So we're going to let that individual know, we're going to let that loved one know that we're going to do everything we possibly can to see that they get well, and we were going to do nothing as a team to see that they stay the same or get worse. So the leader that we've established that's going to lead this intervention, who has the least emotional attachment to this situation, when it comes intervention day, and there's another point where and let me back up a little bit. There's another point where you're going to want to engage a professional, and that is someone to listen to these letters and make any changes and make sure that they're on point and they're not shaming, they're not blaming. There's just these little details that interventionists can give you to help craft those letters and make them perfect. So then once you do that, you're ready to approach your loved one. Well, what does intervention day look like? Well, and when do you make the approach? By this point, you have a solution in place. You have the bed ready for them. You've let the admissions team at that place know, say, hey, we're gonna address our loved one on Saturday at 8 a.m. And it's usually always done in the mornings because that is when an individual is in their most lucid moment. Unless they work night shift, morning time is going to be the best time to get them. You don't have to bust in the door at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. My interventions generally happen about 8:30 to 10 a.m. Sometimes it pushed to 11. But also in the morning, because if they're flying out of state for treatment, you've got flight arrangements to make. There's travel, there's logistics. So morning time seems to be best because as the day progresses, so does the addiction. And you really want to avoid at all costs doing an intervention when someone is under the influence at that moment. So it's morning time. You know where the intervention is going to happen. Typically, it's at their home. When you watch the show Intervention, what you'll see is they always walk into the conference room of a hotel or a hotel lobby. The family's already sitting there, and they walk in, and then they flip out and run out the door. Well, in my interventions, I always want to control the movement, and I preach to families to do the same, right? You want to be able to control the movement. So once an individual's up and, or maybe they're asleep, we'll do the scenario of they're still asleep. And say this is a son or a daughter or husband and wife. They're still asleep. Your team walks in together, right? If you know they're still asleep, doesn't matter who walks in first. You have the opportunity to get situated, get settled, and you don't want to make this approach to your loved one like from a dining table or from, with the TV on or the dogs running around or the baby's crying. Like you want to set the tone of the intervention where it's a very serious environment. The TV's off, very open, much like a living room is your best shot. And you get everybody situated. And then you're going to have that individual that is least likely to be pulled down a rabbit hole of debate or argued with, and someone who they would be a little shocked to see walk into the bedroom and say, hey. But you want to send that individual upstairs and say, hey, we got some things we need to talk about. Come on down. And they're going to be like, what? And you want to hold your ground and be like, man, just come on downstairs. You'll see in a minute. More than likely, they're going to know what's getting ready to happen. What you have to risk is that they could be like, oh, screw this, turn around and walk back to their bedroom because we want to get away from an uncomfortable situation as quickly as possible. So you want to designate who on this team is best suited to go get them and just bring them back in and say, look, just hear us out. Your job at that point is not to convince them to go to treatment or do the intervention. It's just to come in and hear what the family has to say and reinforce to them that you're not there to force them to do anything. It's just having a discussion. Most often that does the trick, and they'll come in and hear it out. And then the leader of the intervention at that point is the one who determines who reads next, who reads their letters. And when I'm doing my interventions and I've got the letters and I've heard them the night before at the rehearsal, I like to batch my letters, if you will, to where we're coming out of the gate with a really strong letter, like a power letter from someone who's very influential in their life. And then we blend in the middle letters. They're still powerful, but, maybe not have as much leverage or maybe not as much interaction with their addicted loved one. And then that last one is like a right hook power letter to nail it home. And then you leave that individual to make the decision of either yes or no. It's really like that. The leader of the intervention is going to ask the addicted individual to say, look, they've got some things they have to say. They're going to read you a letter. Let them say the whole letter. Let them read it out. Save your response till the end. After everyone's read their letter, the floor is yours, and then we're done. Like, dude, we're not here to make you do anything. We're not here to force you to do anything. We're not here to tell you what you need to do. We're here to make you an offer because we love you. So just hear us out. We've gone to great pains for all of us to be here right now. So be respectful and hear what we've got to say. They'll agree. They'll hear you out. And after you're done with your letters, you say, what is your decision? The floor is yours. What do you have to say? And this is where it can get kind of thrown off the rails if you're doing an intervention on your own without a professional there, is he or she could ask some questions that you just simply don't have the answers to. They could ask you questions of, well, what's this treatment center going to do differently that the other treatment center didn't do? Or how are things going to be different? Or I've got a job interview next Tuesday. How am I going to go? Can I take my dog? What about work? Right? These are things that you're going to want to address long before the intervention to put in place to have solutions for. So you want to be thinking beforehand also, what are the objections that my loved ones are going to be trying to pull to prevent them from having to go to treatment today? And you want to cover that. You want to have housing for the dog. You want to have the job taken care of. You want to have the bills taken care of. I don't mean going in there and pay all their bills while they're gone. That's not what I'm saying. But you want to have every rebuttal that they have, you want to have the ability to counter that. And this is also when the negotiation phase is going to come in from the addicted individual, where they're going to want to negotiate down and maybe go to a therapist. Maybe I'll go to 12-step fellowship. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. Can I go somewhere local? Can I just go to detox? Any number of negotiations. And I'm here to tell you that if you negotiate with the disease of addiction, you will lose every single time pretty much. So that's where it can really throw you for a loop, is in the negotiation phase. But if you've got that individual that does not have the emotional attachment that the rest of the team has, then he's the only, or she is the only one that is communicating with the addicted individual. Like the weakest link in the bunch, the one that has historically been the chief enabler, the addicted individual is most often going to come to them first because they have shown them that they are the weakest link, and they have shown them that they have been able to manipulate them and get what they want or get what they feel that they need. So they're going to come to them first. So the job of the rest of the team is to really keep that individual from saying a whole lot, and you're surrounding that individual and showing support so that addicted individual sees that they are not isolated, they are not alone, and they cannot be as easily manipulated that they used to could. So while the addicted individual's focus is going to be on the weakest link in the chain, the one that is designated to lead the intervention is going to do the talking. So you're going to feel pressure as a part of the team to jump in there and say something, because that addicted individual is going to want to push your buttons, and they installed a lot of the buttons, so they're going to want to push your buttons. You want to resist that at all costs of engaging them. Open, honest, direct, be kind, loving. Don't be blaming. Don't be shaming. Don't be guilting. Don't be telling them what they need to do. You're there strictly to say what you will do and what you will not do. It's critical that everyone on the team maintain their composure, maintain that unity. How interventions usually unfold when I'm there as a professional, I see this and I experience it. The family starts off very afraid. It starts off a little edgy, right? Once the first letter is read, everybody seems to find their groove. And the family starts to feel empowered. And the family, you can feel it. Like I can feel it. The family starts to bond together in a way that's almost palatable. Like it's like watching a wave build out in the ocean and build and build and build and build. But unlike a wave, it never crashes. The family bond just gets stronger and stronger, and they feel empowered, and it just grows and grows. And you can feel it in the intervention. And that addicted individual feels it as well. I mean, if I can feel it and I'm not emotionally attached, I know the addicted individual can feel it as well. And you know what? As crazy as it sounds, they're going to want to be a part of that. They do. They're going to want to be a part of that. And that's going to start to feel almost like an unstoppable force. And they realize that. And there's some magic that happens that individual, because, man, your addicted loved one loves you. They just hate themselves. And they want to belong. They want to fit. And in their natural state, they don't feel like they fit anywhere. They don't really feel like they belong anywhere. So as that family feels more empowered and demonstrates the empowerment that's happening within them during that intervention process, your loved one wants to be a part of that. And more often than not, they're like, okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I really do want to do this thing. I don't want to hurt y'all. That's mostly what happens. You'd be amazed at how many times people are describing a monster when they're describing their loved one, and I'm expecting to see just Godzilla when I walk in the door. And I walk in the door and I see a broken individual that's just trying to survive and hadn't seen the ball since the kickoff when it comes to joy and happiness and feelings of serenity and peace. And they just want to be okay. And if you come to the table with some compassion and with some healthy boundaries and a clear understanding of what exactly the problem is and a clear destination on where you know the solution should be, they're going to show up different. You don't come out of the gate, shaming somebody or telling someone that they need to do. But the biggest risk of all of this, of doing an intervention on your own, is the emotional attachment and the lack of experience in performing formal interventions. Those are your two worst. What am I looking for here? Those are your two worst. What am I looking for here, Taylor?
Biggest obstacles?
Yeah, those are your two biggest obstacles, as far as in my opinion, that you're going to be up against with your addicted loved one. So let's say the individual says, you know what? No, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. Then you have to be in a place then to say, you know what? We'll respect that. We're not going to rob you of an experience that you may need to have. And we know that you're a determined individual. And that's both an asset and a liability. And while we feel right now that is a liability, we have to respect it because you're an adult. And we're no longer going to try and control you. But we just want you to know that if you go out here and figure out that you can't figure out, that the offer of help's always here. It's not about like, hey, do it today or it's off the table. We just want to see you be well. And really, this intervention wasn't about us coming and trying to make you do something. We're really here today just to share with you where we are as a family and where we're going moving forward. We're not here to make you do anything. So while I'm going to mourn this decision and I'm going to be afraid, I'm committed to wellness and I'm committed to recovery for this family. And I just want you to know that I am engaged in my own support and my own recovery. And we are going to remain solid as a team because I can tell you, most of the reasons people refuse to go to treatment that day is A, they have other options, or B, they don't believe their family. It really comes down to that. They have their own financial means and they have different options out here to keep going, or they don't believe what the family's saying. Most of the time it's because they don't believe what the family is saying, because they don't have an experience that shows them that in the past that the family means what they say. So you have to allow them the experience of seeing that the family does indeed mean what they say. And it's super important to remain a team. If your addicted loved one really at the end of the day refuses to go to treatment and they dug their heels in, the boundaries go into place immediately. But what you can expect is your addicted loved one is going to come to the weakest member of the team first. They're looking for holes in the gate, man. They're looking for chinks in your armor. So it's important that the addicted individual and all of you remember that you're part of a team. If your addicted loved one calls mom, let's say it's usually moms that they come to. Mom, I can't believe you did this to me. Mom, I don't want it. Mom, just let me come. I just need this. I just need that. Like they installed most of the buttons on you so they know when to push them and where to push them and how. You're fail-safe. When they're asking you something and when you're emotionally not in a position, I'm going to repeat this again because I've said it early in the episode. You're not in a position emotionally to say no. Are you ready to go to treatment? And that's it. Or just say no. And remember that no is a complete sentence and doesn't need to be followed up with justification or an apology. Just no. If you're not strong enough at that moment to say no, what you say to your loved one is say, hey, I'm going to need to talk to the rest of the team. I can't answer that right now. I'm going to talk to the rest of the team and get back to you with an answer. That does two things. It buys you some time to retreat and strengthen your emotional condition at that moment to be able to respond accordingly. And it lets that addicted individual know that you are not isolated and that you are working as a team. And even though we're no longer in the living room in an intervention type setting, that the team is still very much intact. And usually over a period of time, if you're able to maintain that individual will reach a decision to where they're going to want to engage in inner treatment. If the individual agrees right away to go to treatment, remember, you've got the treatment center already picked out, the bed's waiting on them. Now it's about logistics. How do we get them from here to there? Families have this desire, and I totally understand it, to where they want to all travel and take their loved one to treatment together. You run a risk with that. You could get that individual, and if you're driving them to treatment in several hours, has a whole lot of time for that addicted individual to be up in their head and to get into your head and just try to negotiate, or try to say, yeah, man, I'll join the Air Force or whatever. I'll do what I've heard a lot of stories. You stand that risk. You also stand the risk that they're going to be very afraid. And I see this just about every time I'm transporting someone. Like we'll get on an airplane or we'll get in a car and we'll be chatting it up and talking and even laughing and having a good time. But the closer we get, when we're about 5 minutes out of the treatment center from the destination, because they'll be asking how much further we got, how much longer. And then when I'm down to like 10 minutes, they get quiet. They change. They're getting in their head and they know what's coming and they're fearful and they don't know what to expect. And you got to remember that you're basically asking your loved one to stop breathing air because that has been the only oxygen that they've had to be able to give them a sense of ease and comfort with substances. So not only are they doing something that they're afraid to do, they're really saying goodbye to their best friend, and they know that. So if you're taking your loved one to treatment as a family, you stand the risk of once you get to treatment, and if you're there trying to do the check-in process with them or not, like what if they refuse? What if they get to the door and say, no, I'm not going, please take me home? That's a hell of a position to be in because you're in a position where you have to say, no, sir, I'm sorry, this is a one-way ride. We're leaving. So in any time that you can, if you can afford this, get a sober transport to transport your loved one that doesn't have the emotional attachment. It's something that they do all the time. They'll pick your loved one up, fly them, make sure they get safely into treatment. I do that with my interventions. I transport all the people that I intervene on because I'd like to have that separation from the day of intervention, that family separation. Once they agree to go, I just kind of let the family start their healing process and catch a break. And it allows me to connect with that addicted individual because I've been in their shoes exactly. I've been walking that line of headed to treatment after an intervention. I know what it feels like. I can help prep them for treatment. And I can also hold a boundary very appropriately that, no, this is a one-way ride. There's no return. I'm not bringing you back. Like, if you want to get back, that's on you, but I'm not enabling it, right? So if you can get a professional to transport, I strongly recommend it. But if it has to be a family member, get someone that's not as easily bamboozled. Get someone that's not as easily manipulated. Someone who will go for support and make sure they get there safely, but someone who's not afraid to say, you know what, buddy, look, no, I'm not taking you back. I'm gone. See you later. That's appropriate. That's appropriate. So I hope you guys, again, this is not, I'm not saying, hey, take every detail of the information that I've given you and go apply it. Life is in the gray area. And this is not going to apply to all families, certainly. So I highly encourage you, book an appointment with a professional. Intervention on call would be great because we're a bunch of interventionists and we guide you by the hour. And we'll also do in person, but we're not there to sell you an in person. I get great joy out of talking to family through an intervention from the comfort of my living room. It brings me a lot of joy. It's also good for my ego, too, because I'm like, I'm an interventionist, and I got a loved one to treatment, and someone's loved one to treatment, and I didn't even leave my living room. I'm really joking on that, but I get a lot of joy out of that. I feel satisfaction from saving families thousands of dollars. So you can book an appointment with one of the providers or myself on Intervention on Call and get some strategy. Get a plan in place. Most often, families can do this on their own. But you need to be educated, you need a team, and you need a plan. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this session today. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Again, if we can be helpful to your family, we offer free family support groups every Monday and Thursday. Right now, it's every Monday and Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. You go to www.interventiononcall.com to register for the link. There, we will be in front of several providers, several interventionists, and we're there to educate, and educate. Because when you're educated around a topic, you can make the appropriate decision and the appropriate action. So, we hope to see you there. And always remember to be good to yourselves. You don't have to stay in the situation that you're in. Change is possible. But you've got to have some willingness yourself to do some tough work. And if you're able to do that, then you can see your loved one get well. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you next time, hopefully with a guest.